Welcome to the On Pace podcast. Today we are here talking with Tracey Hulick, who is an ultramarathon runner who in 2017 made it good on a lifelong goal in donating a kidney to a person in need. Last fall, she had her first post-kidney donation 50-miler, where she placed second place female. She started a nonprofit called Kidney Donor Athletes to share more inspiring stories of people who had the courage to help others in need. Tracey, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. Thanks. Thanks for doing this.
Yes, thanks for having me on. I was really excited to hear back from you so quickly. So this
Yeah,
is
well,
great.
it's a great story and I want to share it. So let's get right into it.
Okay.
Why was it a lifelong goal to donate a kidney to somebody, and how do you make that fit in with an ultra marathon running career?
Well,
Sounds a
at
little
first,
overwhelming for sure.
it can't. I waited for a long time though. So I first heard about organ donation in seventh grade. It was the first day of school, and the teacher just asked the class, what's something interesting that happened to you or your family this summer? And, I was quite introverted and quiet as a kid, so I wasn't going to say anything. So people are saying things like, oh, I went to California, or like I learned how to skateboard. And this one girl raised her hand and said that her uncle had donated his kidney to her cousin that summer, and they were both doing fine. And I had never heard such a thing. And like it really caught my attention. And instantly, I just thought, that is awesome. I mean, that sounds like such a great thing. I would totally do that. But in that same split second that I had that instant reaction, everybody else in the room started saying stuff like, that's crazy. I could never do that. What if he needs his kidney back one day? And just all this like fear-based comments from these people. And I'm sitting there like, did we not just hear the exact same thing? And so just being so aware that I was the only one on this side of the fence and everybody else was over here, I just thought, okay, well, I'm going to do that someday because there's some reason why I feel this way and nobody else does.
That's the same mentality it takes to become an ultra marathoner.
It
It's like
does.
nothing is out of reach, and
Exactly. It's like, don't tell me I can't do something because I'll show you how to do it 3 times over. I've just always been like that. So to know
so
that none of them would ever do it, I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do that someday. And that same day was also my first day of my first cross country practice I ever had. And I loved it. Like, this was a big day, like, as a 12-year-old. So I decided I'm going to donate a kidney. I fell in love with cross country running. And just as the years went by, I would hear about organ donation here and there. And I just figured in my 20s, I really thought about it. And I thought, okay, like when I'm ready to take a break from distance running, because I can't just say I'm going to take a break. I need to donate an organ to allow myself to rest for a year. So I just waited. And in 2016, it's hard to remember, I ran a 50 miler. I paced my buddy at Western States. So I ran 38 miles of the Western States course. I ran my first BQ marathon. I ran the Athens Marathon over in Greece. So like just all this stuff.
Oh, that's
And I
pretty
was
epic.
getting tired. So I was like, okay, it's time to start the process. I could use a break.
So you've pretty much been into running your whole life since young then.
I have, but mostly, like most of my friends are really into races and they'll do, like a race every weekend or every other weekend. And I've never really been into that. I just more like the running because of the solitude and the adventure and just like respecting and working with my body, to do things that I know I won't be able to do in 50 years. So I'm going to do all of those things right now and
Mhm.
savor it and love it. And I've had that mentality about running. I mean, ever since seventh grade, it was just like
I
this
don't
partnership I just love.
I don't think that mentality ever leaves ultra marathoners, because even though you're saying this now, there's so many of them out there that are still doing it at, those older ages.
True.
I just think that's probably going to stick with you for life, just like that kidney story when you were young.
Probably, and there's so many advancements and things we can do to do all these things and be better on our bodies. It's like switching over to trails a few years ago. It's just so much easier in terms of like impact on my knees and my back. And, like recovery time is so much shorter for a 50-mile trail race than it was for a road marathon.
Oh
So,
yeah, I started noticing that when I just started doing a little bit of trail running when I got back home from Thailand.
oh,
Just
okay.
not so beat up after my runs, because all of my runs were through the concrete jungle. Not There was no trails around there.
Oh, wow. So how long did you live in Thailand?
I lived there on and off for about 5 to 6 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I moved there originally to pursue a career in to professional Thai boxing.
That's badass. Wow.
Yeah, and I moved back. I stopped fighting about 2.5 years ago because of some brain injury. I didn't want to keep continuing doing that.
Okay.
It was pretty rough. And then I
Yeah.
found,
Oh,
and we do a lot of running in Muay Thai, like for training. It's pretty much part of the curriculum to get in shape for fights.
okay.
So after a while off of fighting, I didn't really know what to do, so I started running
Nice.
and just kept running. And then I signed up for a half marathon after not running for 2 years. I trained for 6 weeks and I placed 15th.
You only
And then,
trained for 6 weeks.
well, I used to run 21 kilometers a day when I used to
Okay.
fight, right? So there's the
True.
base.
Okay.
And
Wow.
yeah, and then a marathon a month and a week later, and I placed top 50. And then another marathon 3 weeks later, and I placed top 50 again. But it was called Bangkok Midnight Marathon.
Okay.
And it's a pretty big race. Invite elite racers, and then they have open division for foreigners and open division for Thai people. I came fourth in the open for foreigners, which was pretty crazy. I actually made a little bit of money.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
a lot of
Congrats.
a lot of people dropped out because it was just too hot. And lucky
Wow.
for me, that's where I train, right? So
Okay. Oh, wow. That is awesome. What a great story.
pretty fun. It was. Then now I just completely obsessed with the sport, and I can't stop.
Well, there's like unlimited growth and unlimited things to learn because it seems like such a simple sport. You put on running shoes and you go outside. But there's so much to it, and there's all these amazing people in the sport with all these great stories, like best community ever. Just it's like you
The
can
most
endlessly grow
inspiring.
in the sport. I love it.
I love these people, and everyone you talk to, like no one wants to push you down. There's,
Right.
yeah, a few, I'm sure, but it's not. It's like
Like the minority.
95 to 5,
Oh yeah, completely.
So you've been running all your life. How'd you get into ultra running? How did that become a thing to you? Because most people,
Um,
they don't know about ultra running. It's just you hear about it one day, like people are out there running 100 miles for some reason.
I know,
And
and it sounds absurd when you first hear about it because I don't remember exactly when I started hearing about that stuff, but instantly I was like, well, those are like the wackadoodles of the sport. Never would I ever, because I was just getting into marathons. Well, for like 5 years I had been running marathons. And have you heard of the Ragnar Relay? Are you familiar with that?
heard a little bit about it. I don't not too much about it though.
Okay, there's a bunch of them now. It's on average a 200-mile relay, and usually it's teams of 12 people. So I think it was 2010, I joined a team, and I just wanted to meet different people. So I saw a group on a message board, and so I was living in Madison, Wisconsin at the time, and this team was based out of Milwaukee. I'm like, cool, new people. I'll just jump in and be in a van with strangers for 2 days and just see how it goes. And they ended up being great. And one of the guys on that team, I was in on his team. The next year, we did a team of 6. And as we got done with that, at the end, he's like, it would be kind of cool to do a team of 3, don't you think? And I was hurt. And I'm like, no, that sounds ridiculous. And then in a couple weeks after that, he kept asking me, he's like, what do you think? What do you think? It could be fun. You can pick whatever legs you want to run. You can run first if you want to. So I said yes. So the 3 of us did a 200-mile relay. So I ran 100K, broken up in 3 sections. And so it was that guy. He was the catalyst to me running longer. And so then the next year I did my first 50K and he paced me the whole time. And it was awesome because he has this really just steady, stable personality. He knew me well enough where he could be like, you haven't drank in a mile, drink now. You should eat this now. You should do this now. And we didn't even have to talk. He would just help me pay attention to the things I wasn't thinking about. And then he also paced me in my first 50 miler back in 2016. So through seeing him do these things, and he's done 200 milers and stuff, like he is nuts. I would never do those. But seeing him thrive in the sport and the way he would talk about it, it's like you wanted to be a part of it because it was like this other aspect of running I never really knew about, but seeing him grow in it and learn, he would tell me about it. I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty cool.
It's
So it's
kind of
really
got
because of David that I got into
listening
it.
listening to ultra marathoners talk. For the average person, it's very strange because it's, oh, this I heard here, and this is we had to run this far, and
I
oh,
know.
it was great. It's like
I
it's
know.
like
It's crazy because you don't think much about the stuff that hurts a whole lot after. Like when you're in it, like I've told you know, like some of my road racing friends that don't run longer than like half marathon or marathon distance, I'm like, it's kind of like a lava lamp. It's like the feeling of the run is just always shifting, it's always changing shape. And if you don't like how it feels right now, just wait 15 minutes and you're going to feel different. It's like that really shitty, awful feeling doesn't last the whole race. I mean, maybe for some people, I've never had that, but like it's always changing. And that's part of the fun is like you never know how you're going to feel at any certain point. You just have to adapt to everything that comes up, which for me is the fun of it.
Yeah, I can't wait to get one of those races in. I really want to get one in later this year.
Oh, okay. Like what
My,
distance are you thinking?
I always go a little bit too far, so I want to do like a time loop over 12 hours maybe.
Okay.
Just get just get in it, get that feeling, see what I can do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that sounds great. I love the idea of those timed races because you don't toe the line and be like, "Oh my God, I have to run 100K right now." Oh, you toe the line and you're like, "Okay, I'm just gonna run as much as I can for this amount of time, and just I'm
yeah,
just gonna try and keep moving forward." It's just I feel like that would be less pressure of a mindset.
yeah, I think it's a good, like, for me at least, because that's kind of how I operate. Like, okay, I've got here now. I
Mhm.
definitely can go a little bit farther,
Yeah,
and I know when I'm in that, I just keep biting at it, keep biting at it. And I think it'd
yeah,
be a good race for who I am to get started with.
yeah. Oh, that
So,
sounds like a great plan. Keep me
uh,
posted.
yeah, I definitely will.
Yeah.
So, your first race post kidney donation. Let's
Yes.
talk about that. How did that go?
Well, my first race post donation was actually a half marathon. I did 6 months after donating,
Okay.
and it I did well, and like I usually try and finish at least like the top 10% for road races,
Yeah.
and I did, but it was hard. I mean, I dealt with a lot of fatigue when I was recovering. Like I could not believe how tired I was. So I was in the hospital for 2 days. I go home. That first day back, I walked around the block once, like shuffling like an old person. Like I was so tired and I couldn't walk and talk. I tried to talk to the person I was with and I got so winded I had to stand still to catch my breath. But you would think just taking an organ out, like, and it wasn't my lungs, you think you would be okay. But
Well, I
just
guess
getting my
it's cleaning the
endurance.
blood out and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you have half the filtering system and your whole body's adapting now because it doesn't have the full system it used to have. And so it took a while for my endurance to come back. So I did not listen to doctor's orders and I
Of
started jogging a
course.
little. I know. No one can tell me what to do. So
It's an
some,
ultra marathon mindset. It's not
I
like,
know, like I listened to my body. I was paying attention. I didn't hurt anything. But 17 days after surgery, I started just jogging 2 minutes and walking 2 minutes just because I wanted to know that I could. And I could, and I didn't mess anything up. I even called the surgeon the next day, and I felt so bad. I'm like, oh God, like breaking the
hey,
rules already.
hey,
And he
guess
just
what?
said,
Remember that thing you told me not to do?
I
I
know.
just did it, and I'm calling you to let you know.
And it was awesome because he just laughed. He's like, Trace, I knew you were going to do that. Just don't sprint and don't run hills. So, so I was
Yeah.
feeling okay. So I started training regularly, maybe 2.5 months after surgery. And I mean, I can deal with a lot of discomfort. And the whole time getting ready for that half marathon, it's like I was exhausted. Even after 4 mile runs, I would come home and I would just be really tired and either take a nap or just want to sit down for a while. But I just, like, I wanted to prove to myself that I could still do all the things that I used to do. So I did the race. I felt like I was grinding the whole way, but I ran like 8 minute miles or something. So it was a good day. And I was exhausted like the next 2 days. And that afternoon, I had to be on a plane for a work trip down to Kansas City with one of my employees at the time. So it was like I couldn't just crumble and relax. Like I had to be on and be manager me after that. So
That's
that was difficult. But then I planned for the 50 miler almost exactly a year later. And
yeah.
I think, God, I pushed it out that far just because it was nice to take the time. Because it took me almost 11 full months after surgery to get back to where 15 miles felt comfortable. So it took a long time to just even get back to like distance running base miles. But the 50 miler was so good. Like one of those race days where it's like all your stars align, you're smiling through almost the whole thing. Like the weather really cooperated. It was really cold in the morning, like mid 30s. And then it got up to mid 80s by the time I was done. But just to have all that cold in the first part and see the sun come up over the front range and the mountains here. And like I literally felt great until mile 42. I started to get kind of tired. And that sounds insane. Like I didn't get tired till mile 42. And it was just, I had so much joy because I had thought so much about this race and I had been posting about it on Instagram, and there were all these other different, I call them like kidney curious, like thinking about donating, and all these other donor athletes that had
Kidney
connected with me.
curious.
Yeah. And so like they're all invested in this and they want to know how it goes. And there were some media people that were involved. And it's like being out there knowing that I'm doing it for more than just me. Because so many people think with donating a kidney that like they think you can't drink alcohol, you can't have salt, and that you can't really be an
Can't
athlete.
have salt.
I don't know why they think that. I
I
still put
don't.
salt in
I still
everything.
don't know why people think you can't have salt unless you have hypertension.
Yeah,
Listen, people, you don't worry about salt intake. Your body
I
sweats it
know.
out.
Exactly. Like here I'm out on the course like eating pickles at every aid station for salt. Like it was fine. But just the race went awesome, and just I remember being out on the course and I had just come up a bigger climb on the loop and my watch beeped and it told me I had just hit 40 miles. And I actually got emotional while I was running because I hadn't run that far in training. So this was my first time going that far with one kidney, and I felt awesome. So I kind of teared up, and you know how like your breath kind of catches in your chest, and out loud I'm like, that's not helping, it's not helping, you know, because I gotta breathe when you're running. So that I just kept going. But just to push through that last loop and to get to the finish line. And I had a whole bunch of other kidney donor friends that were there, and they had signs and they were cheering, and my boyfriend was there. And then they make this big announcement about how, you know, this is special because I'm a recent kidney donor, and everybody cheered and I cried. And it just felt so
Beautiful.
meaningful because it was so connected to more than just, oh, I just want to run 50 miles. Like it was like
It
living
was a
by.
lifelong goal, right?
Yeah. And just to show that like you can donate to someone, and I even PR'd. So I had a good time too. It
That's
was
great.
just a great day.
How much have you had to adapt your training to fit around that?
I just carry more water.
You just carry more
So
water?
yeah, so oh, and I can't take ibuprofen.
You can't?
So nope, because that's really hard on your kidneys. And so I actually had
Yeah.
to get rid of my ibuprofen because I feel so normal, I forget. And I know that if I had it here, I would take it not thinking because I don't feel different. So I got rid of all the ibuprofen. I just have Tylenol on hand. And then I bought a hydration vest that carries like 70 liters. No, that's, I'm trying to think. That'd be like way too much.
Yeah, that'd
It's
be
like
like,
my big water bottles. It's an Orange Mud brand pack, and it's great. Like I never run out of water. Like I consciously think about drinking like every 10 or 15 minutes when I'm running now, which I was really bad about before. But
so
that
it
helps
kind of
different.
improved everything then.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I'm running better because I'm taking care of my body better. Because I used to run dehydrated a lot because I also never wanted to stop to pee because my time, you know? And so that can get dicey and really work against you. So even with like all my extra pee breaks now, I'm faster than I was.
That's a funny thing on races is people don't want to stop at aid stations so they can set a PR, but
Exactly.
then
But
they
it
end up
hurts so
running
bad.
way slower because they're so dehydrated at the end.
I know. Yeah, there was one marathon, the Rockford Marathon in 2016. I knew I wanted to be Q at that race, and I was running the best marathon of my life. And I had to pee at like mile 3, and I'm like, oh, hell no, I am not stopping. Like, I'm holding this pace the whole way. Like, my insides were sore after that race for like 4 days because I had to actively pee for 23 miles. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, runners are a little bit crazy.
A little bit. Not the most logical. It made sense at the time, but looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I could have stopped for 30 seconds and been way more comfortable.
Oh yeah, I don't
But
know. That's all it takes during a race too, is 30 seconds.
I know.
That,
But I did qualify for Boston. I had a 20-minute PR that day, so it was kind of worth it.
uh,
I'll take it.
So I guess I was gonna ask you what your favorite event was, but I'm pretty sure I can guess what that is.
Yeah, this last 50 miler last fall. So it was a Bear Chase 50.
The
And it
Bears.
wasn't even so much because there's anything special about the race itself. I mean, it was really well run. I mean, the course is pretty much in my backyard, so I knew all the turns. So it's kind of nice to feel like I had home court advantage of it,
So you got to
which
train on the
is,
course pretty much, right?
yeah, like 2, 3 days a week, I'd be out there and
It's
like, you know,
perfect.
practicing, not using a map and just knowing where everything was. And so that was definitely my favorite, because it was the most emotional for me and the most support that I've had at a race too, in terms of people. And I had just moved here like 5 months before that. So to have already made all these really cool friends, and they were putting signs up all over the course, and they would just pop up out of a bush here and pop up on a bike over there. And like they were so supportive. It was fantastic.
What about the lowest? What's the worst race you've ever competed in?
Oh God, I was freshman in high school. So I ran middle school cross country and then just my first year in high school because I didn't like being told what to do. I didn't really want to be coached by someone. Like I didn't want to do everything the team was doing. I've always been pretty stubborn with that stuff. And I was just getting over an injury and I had zero mental toughness at this point. Like I was a total baby. Everything intimidated me. And it was my first race back from injury, as well as two other girls that were injured at the same time. And I didn't believe I could do it. And in hindsight, I was being such a little baby, because usually I would be up towards the front, like front 20, front 30. And I couldn't even get myself to run fast, try and be competitive. I just didn't believe I could do it. So I'm slipping more and more to the back, to the back, to the back. And I'd never run in the back of the pack of anything. And I faked that my injury came back and I dropped out of the race, a 2.5 mile race. And I've never dropped out of anything since then, but I look back at that and I think, thank God I got mentally tougher and I leaned into this stuff. And I learned that like, if you're uncomfortable, you're doing it right. But I didn't have any of those skills yet mentally. And I dropped and I felt fine. I wasn't injured. I was in my head and convinced it was so much worse.
Well, that's probably the most important race. Well, at least mentally, the most important race you had then.
Yeah. And
Because
it's
now
helped to be able to admit it because for years I never admitted to anybody that I had like faked an injury and dropped out. I didn't tell anyone for like, I don't know, more than 20 years probably. And then I coached high school girls cross country for 9 years. And there was a couple times where certain athletes were having a hard time, so I confided in them and told them what I did and how just crappy it felt after that. And so the fact that, they see me as this marathoner, ultramarathoner, like, who does well, admitting to something like that, it made us connect better.
well, we all quit at something at some point. It's just it's
Like
what
we
you
have to learn
do
how much
after
that
that.
sucks,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
we can adapt after that because we never want to feel that crappy again.
Oh, it's horrible. It just
I was so
haunts you
embarrassed.
forever.
It does. Like I can remember, like I even sat down on the course in this pile of leaves, so it looked all dramatic. And I even remember like what the leaves felt like, and oh yeah, I just went for it. I wanted it to be so convincing.
Uh,
Like my leg, like I'm running 2.5 miles on grass. Like come on, but those are the things we grow from, right?
so what benefits is that like you started the kidney donor athletes?
Yeah.
Obviously, the benefits from that, like at least the what word am I looking for? Like, how does that inspire you every day?
It is like I never expected to start something like that. So the whole reason that even came to be is that I mentioned I was sharing my story through Instagram because when I was getting ready to donate, I just wanted to find some other, ideally ultramarathoner, but even marathoner that was a kidney donor that was still competitive after. I couldn't find anyone. It was like no man's land out there. And I just wanted to talk to another athlete just so I knew that somebody had done it and they were fine. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to share my journey back to running after donation. And so I started Instagramming about it. And I have a personal blog too. I was putting stuff out there. And like once a week or so, I would get a message from someone I'd never met. They just happened to find me, if you're like searching the hashtags and whatever. It's like every week I'm hearing from a new person and a new person, and they're telling me, oh, I'm so glad that someone's talking about this. This is my experience, or, that kind of thing. And it just snowballed. I'm like, okay, like there's enough of a community here, but there's no platform for them to share their stories on. So I'll just make the platform. So it was like beginning of August of last summer. And by August 20th, I had already like filed with the state. I bought the URL. I did the bylaws. Like I did everything that I had to do to get it started. And I launched the website the weekend before my 50-miler in September. Because my boyfriend was like, hey, if you do well and media picks this up, you better have that website designed and built so you can plug your nonprofit as you're being interviewed. And I was like, oh, no one's gonna, oh, come on, that's ridiculous. But he's the one person he can't tell me what to do sometimes. I'm like, fine, okay, I'll get it together.
Fine.
And thank God I did because the Denver Post picked up the story right after my race. And so I had this awesome front page spread. They plugged kidney donor athletes, and Runner's World picked it up. They plugged kidney donor athletes. And so I started getting all this amazing traffic, and like maybe 4 or 5 times a week minimum, I get messages from either other donor athletes that are doing amazing stuff like Ironmans and 100-milers, or just to get messages from people that are going through the donation process that are thanking me for what I'm doing because now they're more comfortable to donate.
That's
Like, that's a
great.
big thing. And I also have a mentoring program that I built out of it. So say like you decide you want to donate a kidney and you want to talk to someone who's like a fighter or whatever. Actually, I have a Brazilian jiu-jitsu person I'm about to feature. So I can pair you with the mentor in your athletic discipline that's already donated. So it's just amazing. Like, and I paired a hockey player the other day. Like, I'm just building this awesome arsenal of really cool athletes, and they want to mentor people as much as they can. So
Yeah,
I can
that's cool.
pair pretty much anyone to even people in their neighborhood a lot of times too. So that's
No, it
been,
sounds like a great platform for people.
I know, and I just thought it was such a small community that I never even considered that it will grow or that, I mean, so many people want t-shirts and jackets and all the stuff on like racing jerseys. And I just got a logo a week ago. I'm like, holy shit, people, this is insane. It's awesome though. And like they're spreading the word for me and they're recruiting other people and they're finding other donors and sending them my way. And it's fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Very rewarding for sure.
So, you said you wanted to ask me a few questions?
Yes. Yes. So I'm just curious because it's like you kind of popped onto social media with this On Pace podcast thing, like Fast and Furious, and all of a sudden I'm seeing you all over my feed and like shouting at all these other people. And so like what was the journey to lead you to want to start this podcast? Like how did you come up with this?
Well, as I talked a little bit before with you already about the ending my fight career and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of went, after that, I kind of lost my direction in life for a while. I
Okay.
started doing some not great stuff, abusing my body a lot with drugs and alcohol, and
Mm.
that persisted for like probably about a year and a half.
Okay.
Then I was listening to a podcast with, of course, David Goggins.
Oh
Pretty sure.
yes.
And after I listened to that podcast, like I wasn't the same person anymore. I had to like reflect on myself to a point where
Ooh.
I realized that I was just a loser and I was going
Look
nowhere.
in the mirror.
Yeah,
Listen to
I
this.
took a hard look in the mirror. And
Mm-hmm.
I put my shoes on and I went and ran 12K one day, and then the next day I ran 18. Then the next day I ran 21, and then I signed up to a race, and then just I don't know, it just changed my life completely. And then because of that, and then I started talking to more people who raced, and I noticed like everybody had this inspiring story of how they changed their life or changed somebody else's, and I just wanted to talk to more people about that. And here I am. I'm talking to you, and
Oh
you've changed a bunch of people's lives.
yeah.
I've talked to a bunch of people with amazing stories,
Oh.
and here we are.
So what's your hope in terms of impact for the podcast?
Well, first it was just to talk to people. That's what I
Yeah.
wanted.
Hmm.
It's like, how can I talk to these people? Well, if I have a podcast, that's a good reason to talk to them.
Yeah.
And I think like everybody has their own little story that can touch somebody somewhere, you know?
Hmm.
So like
Definitely.
maybe your story won't touch somebody, but like another story will touch. And
Hmm.
so if I talk to everybody and they all share their stories, that maybe, you know, each person helps out one person, then that person helps out another, and then,
Yeah.
you know, that's another 500,000 ultra runners at some point out there, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Ripple effect for
Or at
sure.
least runners or marathoners or just people getting out there for fitness. It might help. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But for now, it's just so I can talk to people.
Yeah. No, that's great. I'm happy for you. It seems like a really great direction for you. Will touch a
Thanks.
lot of people.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Let's get some more into this.
All right. Let's do it.
Who is a source of inspiration for you?
Um, I thought about this because I'm one of those people, I get real enthusiastic and inspired by a lot. But I think the common
That's what
thread
I'll do.
of inspiration for me is I really love when people consciously choose to change their lives. You know, when people dare to dream about something like beyond their certain set of experiences they have for something different and actually start choosing differently to create a new life for themselves. You know, like it sounds like you did that, like when you were kind of struggling there for a year and a half, and then chose to get out your running shoes, go do something different, like change your direction in your life.
Yeah.
And so my boyfriend, he's an author. He's also in recovery. He's 5 years sober. And through getting sober, a childhood dream was reborn with him of wanting to be a professional athlete. So he left the corporate world. He figured out how to make it work. He trains full time for triathlons and wants to be a pro triathlete.
That's
So
amazing.
I feel so fortunate that someone so close to me is such an inspiration of mine. You know, he totally changed his life, hasn't had a drink in more than 5 years, hasn't touched any pills or whatever. And like he totally changed his whole life because he knew he wanted something different. And the people have that courage to make new choices and to leave the lives they've created and get so uncomfortable in making something new. I have so much respect for that. And I mean, so
Uh,
many people are living examples of that. Like
I
another
just,
one is
yes,
Ray Zahab. Have you heard of him before?
no, I haven't, but I will look
So,
him up after this now.
yeah, so he's like this total explorer, amazing runner. He was featured in the film Running the Sahara. I think that came out in like 2011 or 12 maybe.
I haven't
And-
watched it yet, but it's on
oh,
my queue.
it's so good. I bet I've seen it like 35 times probably. Like it's so inspiring. And so he similarly, like he was a big drinker. He would smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, didn't run. And I wish I remembered what it was just a lot with a lot of people. It's just like real all of a sudden. It's like you just get so fed up on that instant. You're like, I'm just going to go for a run. And I think that's what he did. And now he does these amazing things. He ran across the Sahara Desert. He has this adventure company and features all these things that he does. He's run across like all these different deserts and all these really cool, amazing Arctic trips and does a lot of stuff for kids too. So he'll do these adventure programs for other people. And like he never even used to work out. Like it's incredible. Like we can do anything. And like he's just such a good example of that.
Take a little bit of time to self-reflect, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, a lot of people when they actually have to like go inside their own mind and talk to themselves about who they are, they they don't like who they are, and then
Yeah,
they have to change that because
right.
you can't live with yourself and be happy if you don't like who you are as a person.
Exactly.
And we all like, I think everybody alive wants to be proud of themselves and proud of their impact on other people's lives.
Yeah.
And
And just to be able to take that time to pause and like really like David Goggins style, like look in the mirror and just really look at like who you are, what are the choices you've made, like how do you treat the people around you, like how do you talk to yourself in your head, like all that stuff. Yeah,
yeah,
and we can change all of that.
we're all dealing with something, one or the other, and it's
Yeah,
yeah, sure, somebody else might have a worse situation you're in, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't fix yours.
exactly. Because by us fixing ours, we then help other people too, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. It's
Yeah.
like this continuing cycle of this, like a new life that you can bring for yourself and other people. And
Yeah.
those other people that you help out, you watch them like start succeeding in life because of a little bit of inspiration you gave them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like unbelievably rewarding to see them reach their goals.
Yeah. I know, and so much of that starts with us just having the courage to share our stories. Like now that we're Facebook friends, like I went through some of your feed and just seeing some of the things you put out there and the things you're doing in training and the goals that you have. And it's like people's willingness to share their stories. You never know who's actually going to see that and be impacted. Because I've done that with my running, and then I also do that with personal finance because I was a total mess about money for like almost my entire life. And then 19 months ago, I decided I needed to change that because I knew what kind of life I wanted to have, but I couldn't have it if I owed all these people money. So, you know, I tallied up all my debts, actually posted it on the internet. I'm like, I owe $40,000 to, or $40,611 is my total number. And so I've been really public about, you know, how I budget, what I say no to, what I paid off this month, how much I have left, like what that sacrifice looks like, but then also like what I'm moving closer to. And I can't believe how many people that I didn't even think liked me very much or even looked at my stuff are now doing really similar things. So just by sharing our journey, like no matter what it is, it can be like I'm trying to be the best baker in Colorado. I don't know, but that's going to inspire someone else to like try something that they want to do because we're willing to talk about it. It's awesome.
Well, that's one thing. That's another thing that I can add on why I started the podcast is randomly people would message me that I know I didn't know they're following me or just watching my journey, and they'd say, "Man, you're such a source of inspiration. I can't believe what you're doing." And it's like really inspires me, and that touches me because
Oh,
it's important to me to like help out other people because I know
yeah.
that everybody's going through a hard time at some point.
Yeah.
Just being able to take that time to look at yourself, you can fix most of your problems just by managing your own mind. And
Yes. That is so true. And I love that people would actually send you messages like that because I know I get some things like that too. And it's, I so appreciate when people will send a note of appreciation, that they're inspired or just acknowledge something in someone, because most people don't. And those messages mean so much.
Yeah,
And
it
here's like
does.
fueling you to do these other things and start this podcast and dream even bigger because other people are willing to tell you the impact that you have on them.
Yeah, I always take the time to tell people when they inspire me because
Yeah.
I know how much it means to me, and sometimes it can make a big difference in somebody else's day.
Yeah.
Especially when they're feeling down, they can think about that, like, oh, wait,
Mm-hmm.
I am worth something. I'm worth something to these people. I'm
Yeah,
doing this, and this inspires this person,
exactly.
and I
So do
love
you
that.
have like a big hairy audacious goal like 5 years from now you want to be like, I don't know. I mean, do you have like a big stretch goal, or are you just really more kind of wrapped up in getting this podcast going and getting that
Well,
together?
I my nickname is the arrogant psychopath with a monk mentality, so
I
I
wonder
would
what that was about.
means I have to get as good as I can at ultra running,
Okay.
and I'm not going to take anything less than the top positions. That's my goal,
Okay.
and I'm pretty. I don't know. I get obsessive, so I think I can do
Oh, hell yeah, you can.
it.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah, when I get something in my mind, you can see with the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. I have to do it, and there's no other alternative. I'm doing it, and I'm putting everything into it, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna make sure that it's going to be what I want it to be.
Right. No, I love that. It's almost like you get this like voice in the back of your head and like you can't turn it off, and it just fuels this fire of like, no, I
It
got to
is,
do this thing. I feel it in my gut. I'm going to do it. I'm going to stay up all night long and like devote all this time. And
you know,
it's like you're not even in control anymore. You're like just
that voice in
going.
my head is one of the most annoying things in the world because I'll be laying in bed and I know I got to get up and go run, and I procrastinate my runs by a few hours.
You
So
really?
it's
Can't you
horrible.
just think about this stuff when you're out on your run? Can't you just like carry it out the door with you?
No, because I don't want to go run. It just because I always plan like, oh, I'm going running for 3 hours, but I could just wait an hour before I go run for 3 hours, and
It
then
can be
that
tough to get started.
yeah, once I'm started, I'll stay out there as long as I said.
Mm-hmm.
But getting started, I'm just, well, why am I doing this? I don't know.
Yeah, I swear that's the worst part is just going from like getting up and getting your ass out the door. It's like you only need to run for half a mile and like, okay, this is why I wanted to be out here. But it's like, and some days I can't wait to get out there, but other days like you, especially. So I work remotely. So I work for a bank based in Madison, Wisconsin, but I work from my place here in Colorado. And where the hell was I going with that? Oh, it's easier now because I can like just work in my workout clothes and I know, okay, I'm going to take a lunch now and you zip right out the door. But when there's more things standing in your way to getting out the door, it's like when I was working in the office, it's like, oh, no, I got to change my clothes and all this stuff, make sure you have everything. And then like, if it's too warm, you don't want to be all like sweaty when you come back. And so it's easy. There's a whole lot of
It's
things that can stand in your way to getting out the door.
funny enough, it's the opposite for me. If I have to work, I know I'll get up and go run because I know if I'm at work and I don't go run, my whole day is going to be, oh, why didn't you go run? What's wrong with you?
I suppose you have to be more intentional with your time when you have a
And
work
then,
day, I
yeah,
suppose.
if I have a day off, I'll put it off all day. But I'm going out for the run anyways. It's gonna happen. So I
Yeah.
don't know why I sit around not doing it.
Hey, you don't seem like a procrastinator to me. You seem like the guy that
I'm
makes shit happen.
I'm I'm extreme on both ends.
You got a big personality over there.
That's it's a bit tough to deal with sometimes, but I get things done.
Yeah, you do.
I make sure I'm prepared for my races, and
Yeah,
that's the most important part. As long as I'm getting into work, I'm happy.
yeah. So what's the marathon that you're planning on doing?
I'm trying I'm trying on May 25th to qualify for Boston, but
Okay.
I'm real beat up after my last half marathon.
You have
And
a calf thing going on, right? Like a calf injury?
yeah, I tore the calf a little bit. It's a little better now. I was putting a lot of rest and recovery into it, but
Okay.
I've got like bruising coming out of my ankles, and that's not cool.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, because I tore the calf on the race, I had
Okay.
I had to completely switch to like heel toe running, which is not cool.
No, not at all.
No. And I set a PR by like 10 minutes, still doing that.
Oh my
So,
God, you're such a brute. Like, I
so,
can't believe you did that. That's awesome.
so I was just hoofing it on my doing heel toe running.
That must have
And
been ugly.
oh yeah, that's I'm really not too optimistic about breaking that 3 hours at the end of the month.
Oh,
'Cause I'm still going out for my runs and I just feel it. It's not my joints are I don't like what I did to them.
okay. Might need to push that goal out just a little bit, but
I'm
you
still
never know.
running the marathon, but I'm gonna try to find another race or before the cutoff. It's like September 15th, right? The last for
I think
the
so.
Boston.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I'll find a race before then, and I know 100% I'll qualify.
Yeah.
Easy.
I like that confidence.
I just know I know the work I put in, and I know
hmm
every single day I work out, I'm improving by a certain amount, and
hmm
it's never deviated when I'm in my routine. So I
Yeah.
know exactly I'll qualify before September, 100%.
Yeah. And it sounds like you've really got your mind under control too, because so much, I mean, I've seen people, they do like perfect, flawless, awesome training. They eat great, they sleep, they hydrate, all that stuff. And their brain screws them up on race day. Because
Oh,
they'll like get all afraid, like, I don't know if I can do it. Like, and they let all this fear stuff like run their whole mental process. And then they
uh,
don't get their goal.
I used to fight. There's no there's none of that in me. A
hmm
race, I'm just running against myself. There's no problem with that. I used to go fight other people, and I've got knocked out a bunch of times. I'm not afraid of a race. So
Right.
when I'm out there, it's like I use my watch. I look. Oh, I'm almost dropping below 170 pulse. It's time to kick it up again.
Holy
I
shit.
try. I keep it. I maintain it at like 175. I'm trying to get it up to 180, but
Jesus.
that's elite. That's elite marathoner. But if
Yeah, that's
I can
good.
maintain about 175 for a half and 170 for a full, which is
Wow.
good.
Yeah, that's good.
It hurts at the end. It sucks, but
Oh God, I'm sure. But you get your goal.
so you have a race coming up, right? You're training
Yes.
for.
So it's not till end of September. So I let myself pretty much hibernate over the winter. I was training for a spring marathon, and I'm one of those people, like, if I don't have a real strong reason for doing something, like if I don't have a good why, then I just don't really want to do it. So
Yeah.
I was maybe a third of the way into my training, and I was heading out to do a 14-mile run. And I was driving to the starting point, just driving there. I'm like, oh, I'd rather like lift and do yoga today. And I just got this new book. I'd rather read today. And I got 2.5 miles into my route and I just stopped. I'm like, fuck it. Like, I don't want to do this run today. I don't want to train for this marathon because I really don't care about it. So I turned around, I went back, and then I pretty much hibernated for like almost 3 months. And I still ran, but like I didn't wear a watch. I did whatever kind of workout I wanted to do that day. So I did a bunch of strength work and yoga and just like easy runs, not caring about pace. But now my fire's back. Like I'm ready to be training more. I'm building my base miles and I'm training for 100K. That's the end of September. So that 50 miler I did last fall, it's that same race, but just with an added loop on it. So it's a 100K
Okay.
distance.
Yeah, sometimes you just need that time. And
Yeah.
that's one thing I'm getting a little more into is leaving the watch and the phone at home and just going for a run because
Yeah.
I find like I have a pretty strict training routine and it's not too much based on miles or because I find the more miles I run, the more I'm burnt out and then I can't do my framework and I'm not getting faster or stronger.
Yeah.
But the reason I started leaving the phone at home is because of Strava, and I'm looking at I'm looking at other people's mileage, and I'm like, oh my God, how can I be letting this guy beat me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then I realize I'm running like a extra few, running for an extra half hour, maybe an hour, and
hmm
then when I go to do my sprints or my weights at night, I'm just not hitting that target that I want, and then
hmm
so it's time to leave the phone at home and stop competing with others
I
because
know.
because I know in my races I see my progression compared to them and
Mhm.
I'm hitting PRs every race and they're not like small, they're 10 minutes faster or
Yeah.
and that's over like 3 or 4 months, so I know exactly what I'm doing in training is hitting it perfect. But if
hmm
I'm getting into those weird pissing battles with people on Strava.
I know, like maybe even people you don't even know, you
Yeah,
know,
that's
it's
what
like,
it is.
it is. It's hard. I think Strava is an awesome tool, and I love that I can look back for all the runs that I've worn my watch on, which is most of them, to see how I'm improving. Because I moved to Colorado last May, and I lived in the Midwest prior to that, so altitude was a whole new ball game for me, and that took a while to get used to. So I like Strava because I can see, as compared to last summer, how much faster I am now, and I'm not even necessarily that running fit right now. But I limit how much I just scroll through the feed and look at other people's stuff, or like on a segment to like look at who's, the three people in front of me, like who's king of the mountain on this segment, and like, do I think, who gives a shit? Like, I just need to be really boundaried with myself with
Yeah,
that and
I
just use.
just leave it at home now. And
Yeah.
if you look me up on Strava, you'll see like some weeks 50 kilometers.
Yeah.
No, I'm putting in a little bit more than that, but I'm sick of recording it. I'm sick of just it's not doing anything, no justice to me. It's not doing anything for my training.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at your guys' feeds and I'm trying to beat you in distance, which I might be able to do, I might not, but it
Yeah.
get caught up with that's not important for right now with my races.
Right. Yeah. Definitely not helpful. It's good you know that about yourself and you can just leave that stuff at home.
Oh, it's hard when you're ultra competitive because it's everything can be a competition.
I
Everything.
know. And then we just look like jerks, though. It's like, God, I'm just like doing a recovery run. Relax, you know? Can be a little intense.
So let people know if like they're interested in looking up your donation, where to do that.
You can go to kidneydonorathletes.org
Yep.
and they have a lot of information on there. So I feature a new athlete story every week, and it's people from all different athletic disciplines. Some are just chill 5K runners, half marathoners, 100 milers, Ironman athletes. I mean, it's all over the place. I've had CrossFitters, a professional MMA fighter from Vegas, she's on there. So all sorts of different people. You can contact me through that, and then I also have a resources tab in there. So if you just want some other information, that's all in there. I want it to really be like one great first stopping place for all kinds of information for people, whether you've already donated or if you're just kidney curious, as I like to call them.
Kidney curious. So if you're
Yep.
kidney curious, they can go to kidneydonor.org, was it?
Kidneydonorathletes.org.
Okay, and Instagram, Twitter,
Um,
whatever.
yep, Kidney Donor Athletes is on Instagram, and then my personal, the handle is RadRacer129, or if you just search my name, Tracey Hulick, you can find that too.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's inspiring. I like that. I'm gonna close the show on that note because it's great.
Awesome.
Uh,
It's been so much fun.
yeah, it's been awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, thanks for having me on. This is great. I'm looking forward to see your podcast grow. It's
Yeah, thanks.
fantastic.
All right, we have been speaking with Tracey Hulick on the On Pace podcast. Thanks so much for coming on. You can find the podcast at www.onpacepodcast.com, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at On Pace Podcast, and Twitter at Pace Podcast. Thanks again.
Thanks, Chris.
See you.
Bye.
Welcome to the On Pace Podcast. Welcome to the On Pace Podcast.